everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk away with a missing piece of the puzzle that might be missing in your life. Let's go on this journey together, and I look forward to seeing you Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. I'm Kim Jacobs, the Balance Doctor, and I have with me Jill Reynolds. How are you today, Jill?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for having me on your amazing show. What an honor.
Oh, no, it's totally my honor to have you on. I've had the opportunity to just get to know you some over the years, and you are truly a resilient, brave heart. So I think that is pretty much encapsulates exactly what we'll be talking about today. So I'm really glad to have you here with me, Jill.
Thank you very, very much.
Listen, everybody, grab your virtual seats. Make sure you share this broadcast and let people know that the Kim Jacobs Show is on. And we're going to be having a hearty discussion around how to be resilient, how to have a brave heart. What does that even mean? And how can you incorporate that into your personal life? So I want you to go ahead and I can give a shout out to you and let you know that I do see you in the studio audience. If you put your name and where you're visiting in from, I will be honored to recognize you today. We're going to take a quick commercial break and recognize one of our episode sponsors. And when we come back, I'm officially going to introduce this brave heart to you. And we're going to deep dive right into our discussion today. So we'll be right back after this break. You ready for this, Jill?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready.
So, before we go to commercial break, in a nutshell, you know how you in like 30 seconds or less say what people can expect to hear today? What would you say people can expect to hear?
I'm hoping that when I share my story with you, that you'll look at the similarities of my life with your own instead of the differences, so your life will have transformation today.
Wow. There you have it. Get ready. Put your seatbelts on. We're going on a roller coaster ride. We'll be right back.
When someone has lost a loved one, they want to know what exactly happened. They want to know, is the other person going to be held responsible? And they want closure. At Hunter & Everett, we help clients that have lost a loved one move on, and to do that with dignity and respect that they deserve.
Firm for being one of our episode sponsors today, and make sure you all reach out to them and let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. I'm going to put their contact information up so you'll know they're in the Alabama area, they're in the Richmond, Virginia area, and all throughout the Carolinas. 704-251-2945. Attorney Charles Everidge and Hunter Everidge Law Firm. So make sure you reach out to them today. All right. So as we get ready to talk today with this wonderful individual, I want to introduce her to you. And Jill Reynolds is the CEO and founder of Brave Heart Workshops, using her certification in meeting and event planning to create amazing events, conferences, retreats, and workshops. And I put this really big so I can see it. Jill is the host of the Connection Show. So you are in for a treat when she inspires you with hope, health, and healing. Hope, health, and healing. I'm not going to read all of the bio because some of her bio is a part of her story, but she has 7 years of recovery from something that she's going to talk about today, and 31 years of recovery from something else. I'm not going to reveal what it is, and 41 years of recovery from yet something else. So her story is going to be riveting as she shares it today. But she is a victorious survivor and has sponsored women around the world in recovery and helping to lead these women into transformational healing of burdens that we walk around with in life. Welcome, Jill Reynolds, to the Kim Jacobs Show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And one of the things I'll bring up right away, since you mentioned that I'm the host of the Connection Show, Inspiring Hope, Health, and Healing, is I have on my website, which we'll say at the end, I have where you
I'm going to
can
put it right now.
where you can click on all of my social media sites, which is YouTube channel and Rumble and others. And you can listen to the interview I did of Kim Jacobs because I interviewed her. So she's on my site, and you got to listen because she shared her the good, the bad, and the ugly in her life, and it was an amazing interview that Kim did. So I want to first plug Kim because it was a great interview.
Wow.
So yeah,
you had me crying over there, by the way.
Yeah, I always get my guests crying.
I was like, wait, what? I wasn't expecting this. I'm trying to think, what emotion does this link to with whatever was happening in my life? So you're an expert at that.
Yeah, she did an amazing. So you got to go to my YouTube and Rumble channel to hear Kim. So just a bit. So the numbers Kim had given you, the 7, the 31, and 41, represent a long journey of resiliency in being a brave-hearted woman of God who has dug in and peeled away the onion of all of the pain of my life, which was filled with emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. And so it takes a lot of time and energy and resiliency to be able to work through those intense issues. I had a therapist, Kim, in Chicago, and one day she had said to me, Jill, if 10% of my clients had the resiliency you do, I'd be out of business because you are one of the most resilient persons I had ever met. And so the 7 years represents recovery after 5 times in treatment for eating disorders, which I believe is one of the hardest things to overcome because food is everywhere. And my eating disorder started, Kim, when I was only 5 years old. I started chewing and spitting my food out into a napkin because I told my mom and dad that I had a tummy ache when I ate. Needless to say, it wasn't until I was in my 50s that I was finally diagnosed with genetic celiac disease, which is why my tummy was so painfully sore when I ate all the gluten as a little girl. And so I wasn't thriving because I wasn't eating. And my grandpa even said that he thought I would blow away in the wind one day. And walking on a sidewalk, the wind blew me and I thought I was going to blow away. And it really scared me.
Right, of course.
I really got scared. But the journey of eating disorder continued. Excuse me. My mother had borderline personality disorder, and she cheated on my dad when I was younger and left him, and they divorced. And my dad was my lifeline. He was the one who took us to church, prayed with us, hugged us. And my mother, because of her own insanity and the way she was abused, sexually abused and everything, she ended up having me 6 months after my sister. And it was too much for her. So I was not wanted in the womb. And every day of my life, my mother would tell me I was double ugly, that there was nothing good about me, and who would ever want someone like you? So that was a burden I carried throughout my entire life. When my mom divorced my dad, she started to work from like 3 p.m. till 2 a.m, and then she'd stay out all night with men and sleep all day. And so we were latchkey children starting at around 6 years old. And we'd call Grandma up and say, Grandma, how do we make a meatloaf? How do we make a pot roast? So we had to figure out how to take care of ourselves. And that exemplified my eating disorder because we would make the food and then we stopped eating as a family at the dinner table. So us kids would eat and then we'd sit in front of the TV and numb out and watch TV. And I say that because for those listening, mindful eating should always be at a table. You should always
Right.
mindfully, intuitively eat sitting down, not in front of a computer, not in front of a table. Because when we eat our meals in front of a computer or in front of a
A
TV,
TV or something, right?
we don't even taste the food, the texture, or the temperature. We don't intuitively know.
Sometimes you forget that you even ate it. You're
You
like,
don't even know you ate. Yeah.
"That's
You
my
don't
last
even,
bite." That
yeah.
happens.
Like, did I just have a meal?
Right.
And so this caused a lot of, this was the biggest thing and the hardest thing for me to overcome because I ate so much in front of TVs. The other thing that was a memory, because I love to connect the dots of story, was
Yeah.
in the summer months when we were out of school and my mom would lock us out of the house at 8 in the morning and tell us to go play while she slept or had men over. And so we'd wander around the neighborhood with no bathroom privileges or food. And so my neighbor, Mrs. Datillo, would say, "Hey, Jill, do you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" Well, I didn't know back then, like I know now, that I had so much embarrassment, humiliation, and shame around hunger and being embarrassed that she would ask me, so that I always tell her, "No, I'm not hungry." So
Oh,
again, this escalated my eating disordered behavior to that of what's called restrictive avoidance disorder. That I'd restrict meals and avoid eating out of embarrassment, humiliation, and shame. And so again, I wasn't thriving.
let me interject for a minute because this what you're describing, there are so many people that need this story because they may be in denial that it is an eating disorder. So how do you help people that may have currently experiencing exactly what you've experienced throughout your lifetime, but they don't even recognize it as an issue? Other people may recognize it, but they're in the picture frame, like Les Brown says, and they don't see it. How do you advise people
Well,
to
yeah, what
approach?
I'd love to do, because I'd usually go deeper into my story, but I think this is imperative because we're coming up to the holidays with this,
Right.
which is surrounded by family and food and emotions.
Yes.
Lots of emotions and lots of trauma around the holidays. And so there are most people listening have heard of anorexia, self-starvation.
Correct.
They've heard of bulimia, which is purging. They've even heard of emotional night eating or binge eating. But the
Mhm.
ones that they have not heard about is the ARFID, which is the restrictive avoidance restrictive food disorder. So A for avoidance,
ARF.
FID. So you can look that up, Google it, read about it. Many children have this disease and they don't eat, parents don't know it. They call their kids picky eaters. There is no such thing as a picky eater. Picky eaters don't exist. So parents, if you ever say that to your children, I'm begging you to quit right away. Start to
Right.
observe your children's food behaviors because they may be starting to have an obsessive compulsive disorder with food. And so you want to give them exposure to the food very
Mhm.
slowly so they don't have fear around eating. And
That's
you
good.
do this, and you must do this, please, moms and dads, because this can escalate into a full-blown eating disorder for the rest of their life. And it is one of the most deadly diseases and the hardest to overcome. So that's number one.
And
Number two, which is really prevalent right now, is called orthorexia. Ortho rexia, orthorexia. And it's similar to anorexia, but what it is, it's
Hmm.
based on everyone walking around thinking they have to do clean eating, keto diets, paleo diets, all of the fad diet, look at the scale, look at the numbers. And we need to learn how to have health at every size and balance, not abstinence, because orthorexia turns into a disease, Kim,
That's right.
where you're afraid to go to families' homes for Christmas or Thanksgiving
Right.
because the food might not be clean enough. You're afraid to go out with friends because the restaurants might have MSG or not,
Right.
it might not be clean enough. And so it really becomes a mental illness. And so I'm also a wellness partner, Kim, with Amari Global, which is called the Mental Wellness Company. And
Okay.
they have products that help you to heal your gut, brain, heart axis. And they have a nutrient called mood that helps you to reduce anxiety and stress.
Hmm.
And so a lot of people don't know. So I know I went off on that, but we're coming. And you know what the other one is that I never knew about,
What?
Kim? It's called bigorexia. Have you ever gone, you guys listen, have you ever gone to a gym, a fitness center, and watched someone pumping iron that looks like it's like hundreds of pounds too much? And they're sitting there going like this. And it looks like their muscles are going to pop out of them.
Yes.
Well, what happens is they look at themselves in the mirror and they have body dysmorphia called bigorexia. So in the mirror, they see an image that looks like they have no muscles, but their muscles are so big,
Right,
and to me,
that
so
they're
ugly.
bulging.
They're popping out of them, and so it's a disorder of body dysmorphia, and there's
Right.
others that have what is it called? Compulsive exercise. They go to the gym and they spend 2 to 3 hours a day working off every calorie that they've input for the day because they're deadly afraid that 1 pound will be too much for them.
Yes. And I did some research on this as well. And on healthline.com, everyone, I'll put the link in the actual description. But it says that bigorexia is defined as the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, and it's DSM-5, as a body dysmorphic disorder that triggers a preoccupation with the idea that your body is too small or not muscular enough. So spending hours at the gym, pushing your body far beyond the limits, then feeling compelled to return and do it again just the very next day. So it's like, I have to do this. I have to do this. Following diets on a path.
One thing I'd love your audience to do with you. I'm going to do it with you, Kim.
Go ahead.
Okay?
I love role playing.
Okay. So everybody that's listening, let's do this together today. So body dysmorphia and body image issues are prevalent in the world. I bet you there's not one person listening that has not at some point in their life had an issue with body image. Would you not agree with that? So the best way to do this to overcome body image issues, okay? You can do this with a friend, or you can have a full-length mirror in front of you and stand before it. So this is what we're going to do. Kim, we're going to say,
before you say it, because you got to pull them in, right?
Pull it in.
Okay, so the question is, let's type this question, and somebody else can type it too. Have you ever had an issue
with body image?
Body image. That's the question on the floor. And I'm going to take a commercial break and give you a chance to answer the question and also learn about our next episode sponsor. We're going to come back and hear Jill Reynolds' theory and a physical type of exercise that we can get engaged with this.
Before we take a break, too, if you have in hand reach, even one piece of food, put it in front of you. So when you come back, if it's in hand reach, so you'll have food in front of you. If you don't worry about it. But let's go to commercial break.
Okay. Before we go to commercial break, because I don't want you to miss the episode sponsor, I am going to share with you how you can stay connected with the Kim Jacobs Show. And then we're going to take a commercial break. So let me pop up how you can always stay connected with the Kim Jacobs Show. Then right after that, we're going to take a commercial break. Go grab your piece of fruit or food or whatever that you need to get in your hand for a second. And I'm going to do the same. So if we come back, start talking if I'm not in my chair. Okay, I'm going to go grab something.
Go ahead.
Let's see. All right, here we go. And then we'll be right back. Stay connected with the Kim Jacobs Show, everybody. All right. I knew I wouldn't be back.
We are back on the Kim Jacobs Show, and here's Kim Jacobs.
Hello, everyone. I went and grabbed my fruit and orange. Okay. Right after this commercial break, you'll have everything in hand, and we'll be back to hear the exercise that Jill plans for us. So we'll be right.
I have peace of mind with Silver Shield Security, which has been protecting my family and home, along with servicing the Carolinas for over a decade. Silver Shield Security knows the importance of convenience and safety. Whether you live in an apartment, a home, or run a business, they are here to protect you from unwanted intrusions and fires. Call now at 704-440-4688 or visit the website at www.silvershield-security.com. You can use my promo code #ToneX and get 1/2 off your installation price. Don't forget to ask about the new no money down options. Let Silver Shield Security help to give you peace of mind, just like me and my family, and keep your business safe.
Okay. So what I want everybody to do now is we're going to do this together. Okay. So Kim, say, I love my eyes.
I love my eyes.
It helps me to see you.
It helps me to see you.
I love my nose.
I love my nose.
It helps me to smell flavors and fragrances.
I smell the orange on my hand. So yes, it helps me to smell fragrances and flavors.
I love my mouth. It helps me to speak truth and to kiss those I love.
I love my mouth. It helps me to speak truth and to kiss those that I love.
I love my hands. It helps me to touch and embrace things around me.
I love my hands because it helps me to touch and embrace things around me.
I love my arms because that helps me to reach and connect with others.
I love my arms. I'm putting this link here right quick to everybody in case you want to come on screen and do this exercise. I love my arms because it helps me to reach and do what?
And connect with others and hug and
Oh,
hug.
Virtual
and
hug
hug
to
myself
Jill,
and
to the
others.
studio audience, to everyone watching, and those listening know that I'm doing a hugging motion right
Yeah.
now for you.
Now I'm moving back because I'm going to stand. I love my abdomen. I love my abdomen and my stomach because it holds in my vital organs to
I
keep
love
me
my-
alive.
I
My
love my
abdomen.
abdomen because it holds in my vital organs and keeps me alive.
Yes, it love my heart. It helps me to stay alive and love others.
I love my heart because it helps me to stay alive and to love others.
I love my legs because they help me to walk and get to where I need to go.
Well, now this is really bizarre because normally I'm fully dressed from head to toe, right? Just as a transparent moment. But you know, because you saw how I came in backstage and I was in sweats and stuff, right? So now you see me up here like this. I love myself, all of that stuff. And down here, guess what? I love my legs.
Woo!
I love
See?
my legs. because
Yes.
it helped me get
And look
to
at,
where I
she's ready to go for the day. And why you have that? I love my feet because they help me. My feet are help me to walk and spread the gospel and the truth. And so embrace your body, everyone.
I
God
love
is
my
giving
feet.
you. Yes.
I
yes,
love my
I
feet.
love them. I
Even though
love
I'm not
your-
matching. I love my feet. They help me to get where
Yes.
I'm going.
Yes. So do you see? I love my ears. They help me to hear you
I
and
love
listen.
my ears. They
And
help me to
listen. They
hear
help me to
you.
listen.
They
to
help me to
listen.
listen.
Yeah.
And for those of you, because I have personal friends that have had their legs and different body parts amputated, then God has still blessed them to get around in other alternative ways and to
Right.
utilize whatever other pieces of their body that they still have that's functioning in that regard. So I just want to acknowledge that not everybody may have all of the same body parts that Jill's sharing today, but whatever way God has gifted you to use the senses that you have available, maximize them. Go ahead.
Whatever. And so doing this exercise helps you to heal from body image issues. and look into the mirror. Every day when you're brushing your hair, just say, thank you, God, for this amazing body you've given me to help me to be alive. So the next one we're going to do really quickly.
Come on.
I love this. Okay. And so, so I don't have the food in front of me, but I'll just do. So take a bite of a piece of food.
Okay, so I have an orange.
Just take one bite of it and chew it.
Okay.
Everyone chew it.
If I had a chocolate chip cookie, I would chew that, but I don't have time to cook it.
That's right. Just chew it. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to ask of everyone as you're chewing whatever is in your mouth, okay, and I'll ask Kim this because she's on air. What is the temperature of the orange?
It was cool.
It was cool. And so when you eat food, intuitively ask yourself, what's the temperature? Is it cool? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it hot? Then ask yourself, what's the texture of it? Is it smooth? Is it crunchy? Is it crisp? So what was the texture?
The texture was,
or any other texture you can
the consistency of it was just a little thicker and more textured than just a smoother situation because it had ridges with it being an orange.
So it was ridged. The texture was ridged. And what was the taste? Was it sour? Was it sweet? Was it bitter?
It was neutral. It was in between sweet and sour.
Okay, sweet and sour.
Now I'm just straight eating. I'm eating some grapes. Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, maximize this moment.
That's okay. So every time you take a bite of food, take a bite and mindfully ask yourself, what's the taste? What's the texture? And what's the temperature? Okay. And so what that will do is will help you to connect with the food instead of emotions. And so it will teach you to mindfully and intuitively eat and slow down the process. I learned this in treatment that a meal, not a snack, but a meal you should never finish a meal before 15 minutes, and you should never have your meal last longer than 30. So you want to stay between 15 to 30 minutes mindfully eating so you stay connected with food. So I'm going to say one more thing and then we'll go back into my story. So I did this exercise when I was in treatment, and I'm going to be in February 69 years old. So this takes me
amazing. Kudos. Okay.
So I went in treatment 7 years ago, and most people in treatment are between the ages of say 16-ish, 17 to 30-ish. So I was an old woman in treatment. This young guy who was about 28 years old, he was eye candy. All the girls were like, oh, he's so cute. He's so cute. So I had a session with him one day, and we had pizza and grapes for lunch. And as we were doing our session, I had to eat and talk. And Jake said to me, as I was eating, and this is where I learned this, as I would eat and talk, he'd stop and say, so Jill, what's the taste of the pizza? And I go, I don't know. It tastes good. He goes, no. What's the taste? Is it bitter? Is it sweet? And I'm like, I don't know. So it tastes sweet. I don't. And then I would talk more, and he would do the same thing. What's the temperature? And I'm like, the temperature. I think it's. I don't know. It's okay to eat.
Right.
So I had no idea. I'd never connected with food. And then we did the next one. So this took an hour to eat one piece of pizza and grapes. He would talk and do this with me.
Wow.
About 45 minutes into it, this is so funny, you guys. You'll crack up laughing. He says this to me, and I leaned in and I said, I can't handle this anymore. And he smiles at me with these big, beautiful eyes. And he goes, why, Jill? What's happening? I said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm feeling sexually aroused. And he goes, what? He didn't say what. And I said, and I don't know why. And he laughed, and he goes, well, do you know that your salivary glands are connected to your sensual glands too?
Especially if you have eye candy trying to walk you through the exercise, right?
Yeah, but did you know that your salivary glands are connected to our sexual glands? No wonder the Romans sat around and ate and feasted all day and had sex. Look at those Roman emperors who would eat and eat and eat and have women all around them all day long.
Feed me.
Feed me. So if you're married, I'm not going to promote this to the unmarried to go out and have sex, but if you're married and in a sexual relationship, get some chocolate covered strawberries and have a good one. Anyway, I never thought I'd go that way on your show, but
Okay,
isn't
yeah,
that
this is
amazing?
impromptu. Speaking of which, one of Jill's big things is she loves improvisation. Like she loves to do improv. I know I
Yeah.
learned that about you. So this is a good example of improv. Here we go. Okay.
So anyway, so that is just something about eating disorders that I'd like to
Okay.
share. And then I'm recovered 31 years from codependency. And then I'm 41
Before we go to
years.
codependency, I want to make sure I close out these guests that
Oh, go ahead.
responded to that eating exercise. So
Yes.
Benita says that she ate some nuts and that they were crunchy and there was no temperature to it. In case you want to address any of this, she laughed about your sexual pizza experience. Okay. Let's see. Benita said, "Hey, I love this exercise that we're doing. Thank you so much, Jill." Karen said, "Yes, yes to this exercise. My mom is on and she said, have my food item. I'm ready. Make sure you all share what happened when you did the actual exercise. Type it in the comment section or come on." And I see you, Lady Justine Hillier said, "Good morning to everyone. Good morning to you." All right, Dr. Tina Ramsey with CTR Media Network. They stream in over, I should say we, because I'm a part of it now, 350 million households in 46 countries. So this program is being streamed across the world. And she said she is ready. And everything that you're saying is so true. So I want to make sure I acknowledge some of our studio audience members. And where did I leave anybody out? Kimberly Fallis said good morning. And she said, "Wow, this is great. Great. And Cool Gamer also said, hello. All right, I'll keep going to your comments throughout today's broadcast, but Jill Reynolds is here to share 7, 31, and 41. This resilient, brave heart has a story to tell. So talk to us about 31 now.
So 31, it was recovery from codependency, which was my second disease that I recovered from. And usually I find that a disease that's been with you the longest is the hardest to recover from. So on a timeline, whatever disorder you have, the one you've had for the least amount of time, usually you can heal from that first and then the next. And so eating disorders was the hardest because I had it since 5 years old. Well, codependency hit me around 6 or 7 years old when my mom divorced. And every time she'd have men over, I would sit on their laps and hopefully have them pay attention more to me than her, hoping she would leave them and go back to my dad. So I wanted to play this role of trying to manipulate the men and have my mom return to my dad because I wanted my daddy back so bad. And so my definition of codependency, I'm going to say it slow so you can type it in, is when, if you can type this in, when codependency is when we allow people, places, or things to become more important than ourselves, and we lose our identity. We lose our identity. So it's easy for us to recognize when we're in a codependent relationship with a person. And if you remember, the old saying is when you're in an airplane, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then your child. Why? Because you need to take care of yourself first in order to care for someone else. So in life, especially moms, what do they tend to do? They put their kids' needs before themselves. So in order for recovery to take place, you need to put, if you believe in God, you put God first, yourself second. If you're married, your spouse third. And if you have children, fourth. And then if you have a job, fifth. and
Wow.
church right in there. So you have a pyramid
Hmm.
of what you need to do to stay healthy.
Now that's
Um,
this is what Jill is saying, but I want to also hear from the virtual studio audience. Do you share in that philosophy that God first, yourself second, your spouse
spouse.
third, and your children fourth, and then everyone else, job and everything else fifth? Do you all share in that philosophy, or do you have a different theory? Because again, this is how all different types of people balance our lives. So share how you believe the pecking order should be, or the ranking order, forced ranked order should be. That's important. Okay, go ahead. So codependency is when we allow people, places, or things to become more important than ourselves, and we lose our own identity. And I think I know I being married for 28 years, I never even knew I was losing my own identity. So who it's like sometimes you could be in oblivion about that. You're not even realizing that that's happening. So how do people recognize that they are losing themselves to someone else?
Okay, so before we go there on that one, so I want people to know what places are. So places would be work or church. So do you put your job or church first? And I say that because there are some people who end up going to church 7 days a week, or they serve, hours and hours at church that you don't even know who they are anymore. So again, when it's out of balance, again, when you have things in your life, okay, that are out of balance. So I'm going to divert for one moment. So another exercise.
Come
On
on.
one side of a spreadsheet, write the word binge, and on the other side of the spreadsheet, write the word restrict. And in that column under binge, write everything in life you binge on. I binge on work. I binge on relationships. I binge on TV. I binge on food. I binge on sex. I binge on God. I binge on church. I mean, everything in life you binge on, and then put everything in life you restrict. I restrict eating meals. I restrict exercise. I restrict connection. I restrict work. I restrict whatever. Make a list so that how you find out if you're in balance, when your life starts to feel like chaotic, pull out your list and go, what am I doing today? Oh my gosh, I have been binging on busyness and agendas all day long that I've restricted time to eat my meals today. And so you got to get back in balance in order to have self-love.
I love it. I love it. And I 100% support this theory. So this is right down my alley in the book that I wrote, Extreme Balance Makeover, how you balance all different aspects of your life. Pulling out that blank sheet of paper is a big philosophy of mine. You don't worry about having a big journal or whatever it is. If you have one, great. If you don't, other than that, just pull out some dollar store notebook paper and get to writing. Put it on one side. What she said is, and I see you tagging a lot of people. Karen, thank you so much in the studio audience. Okay, let's pull up what Jill just said. I want to
So
pop
binge on one side, restrict on another. Think of the scale, and I'm not into astrology, but just think of the Libra scale and how if the scale goes out of balance like this.
Yeah, I know nothing about astrology.
Me neither.
But it's okay. So I don't even
I'm
know
just
if I would
saying,
be
you know what
describing
I'm
it right.
talking about, like a scale.
Right. I know the
scale's supposed
balancing
to go
scale.
here. So when it goes off balance, your life is going to be unmanageable.
Right.
And so go back into balance. And so when we come back to what I had said about codependency is people, places, or things. What are things that could take over our life to keep us out of balance?
Yes.
Drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, gambling, overspending, things in our life. How many of you have ever had a problem with shopping too much, or credit card debt, or being a sex addict, or drinking too much, or partying too much? Anything out of balance like that.
Or eating chocolate chip out. I like to bring it home to me since I'm the host. But eating chocolate chip cookies warm out of the oven, having to have it every single night is more on the binge side. So I have to be mindful of that so that I don't have to restrict what I'm wearing because all of the cookies are sitting in my gut. So that's an example.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, Kid, because when I was in treatment for binge eating disorder, you know what they actually had us do? they had us do what was called an exposure therapy, where, so this is something you can do to overcome this, where you eat your chocolate chip cookies every single day. And I say eat them like one or two for 5 days in a row so they don't have power over you. And so you give yourself that exposure that, okay, so 5 days in a row, I ate them. And then what you can do is you can schedule your pleasure snacks 2 times a week. So you can say, hey, on Mondays and Saturdays, I'm going to have my pleasure snack.
That's
and
what
then,
I do.
And then you can have what's called a planned splurge.
Yep.
So what is a planned splurge? Let's say on the box of Oreos, it says that a serving is 2 Oreo cookies. So a planned splurge is having 1.5 servings. So on your planned splurge day, you could have 3 Oreo cookies instead of 2. So you plan it, and that prevents you from going into a binge. Did you know that?
I didn't know that theory, but because I have a son that's lost 100 pounds and he does all of these extra trainings, he tells me I don't have to stop eating what it is that I like. I just have to modify when I'm going to eat it and make the intentional plan to eating it. So that's the theory that I had. I didn't associate it with what you were saying though, but that's awesome. So have a planned splurge day with your favorite snack. I like that.
You like that? And then that's pleasure food. So you have pleasure. So when we eat our meals, it's good to have snacks every day, but have like a snack for me might be cucumbers and celery with my favorite Ranch Walden Farm sugar-free dressing with some Himalayan salt. And it really fills me up. And so when I need something, because I'm like sitting there going, I need something, I just change away, and I've lost 28 pounds doing this.
You have. There you have it. I don't know how much I've lost yet, but can you see some transformation in me? I feel like I'm liking the way I'm transforming. All right, this is good. If you all are enjoying this as much as I am, having Jill Reynolds here today on the Kim Jacobs Show, she's really talking about the resilient, brave heart that God blessed her with from her backstory to where she is today. Some of the things she's already talked about is actually being a latchkey child, having 7 years of recovery at this point from binging on foods, and all kinds of things with being, you name it, it's happened, and trying to lure the attention of some of the male visitors with her mom because she wanted her mom and dad to get back together. If you're just tuning in, you definitely need to go back and watch the replay, okay? But coming up more, we're going to continue to talk about this 31, which is how she has been recovered from codependency. So when we come right back, we're going to hear more from Jill Reynolds. Wow. This is a great episode, Jill. Thank you for being here today. We'll be right back.
Nothing says I love you more than Final Expense Insurance Whole Life Protection. With funeral advocacy nationwide, saving you and your family 30 to 80% off funerals and cremations. Nothing says I love you more than Get Insured Solutions, LLC. GetInsured.Solutions, 704-499-3616.
All right, so take it away, Jill, and talk to us some more about codependency and how you overcame that.
Well, I actually, believe it or not, in the 90s, they had treatment centers. So I was blessed to be able to go into treatment for my codependency. And so I'll share. Before I go to the end of that, I want to divert. So now I have 41 years of recovery from crack cocaine addiction and alcoholism. At 14 years old, I was because of my mother not liking me at all. She despised me. I mean, that's just the true word. She despised me. I was a lost child who was nonverbal. I barely spoke. I sat on the floor and played with my toys, and I did not talk at all because I was petrified to say a word. So at 14 years old, when a boy that I met at a dance, 17 years old, invited me over, I went there and he pushed me onto the couch and he raped me. And I walked home 5 miles bleeding and crying and never telling a soul, because I thought if I told my dad, he'd kill him. And if I told my mom, she told me that's what I get, because she had been raped. My mother was raped at 7 years old while in a wheelchair after her toes were cut off in an elevator accident. And my mom was in a wheelchair recovering, and the man in the boarding home picked her up and he raped her. So my mother had a lot of trauma in her life, which trauma produces trauma. Generational wounds are passed on generationally. And so, I was able to love and forgive my mom for the abuse she did to me, because I learned about my mother's own abuse. So once I was able to connect the dots in my mom's life, I was able to forgive my mom and was with her and held her hand before she died. When no one else would spend time with her, I was there for her. So as a result of my date rape, I didn't want to develop. That's where my body image issues really went strong. And so I minimized my body by putting on big flannel shirts, shit kicker work boots, big bulky clothes. And I started utilizing White Cross amphetamines that would stop me from eating. And so I tried to take drugs that would prevent me from eating, so I could disappear. I wanted to disappear. And so that began my journey. And then, not to freak everyone out, but my mother divorced my dad, and when I was
Wait, it broke up some, so we're missing what you're saying. Say it one more time.
My mother divorced my father when I was 6.
Right.
And then my mother remarried when I was 7, a man she met at a shoe store who turned out to be an alcoholic, bisexual bigamist, married to 2 other women. And I witnessed him stabbing my mother in the front yard, and me thinking he was going to come in and murder me and my brother. So I had a lot of trauma at 7 years old. 7.
But he didn't kill your mom.
No, but she went to the hospital and the police took him to jail. And that's how we learned he was a bigamist, because his 2 other wives showed up at jail when he was incarcerated and stuff. So,
oh my goodness, that's like a whole life. Isn't that a whole movie of some sort?
Oh yeah. Oh, but it doesn't end there. So then she remarried when I got into junior high. Another man she met who was a passive aggressive alcoholic who would dress up in women's clothes to have sex with my mom. So we had wigs in the room. And when they would have their fights all night long, my mother always slept nude, always. And so when she had fights with my stepdad, Tom, she'd come into my sister in my bedroom, and my bed happened to be the closest to the door, and it was a twin bed. And when they would be fighting profusely at night, she'd come and jump in bed and sleep with me naked when I was a teenager. It was disgusting. And they all walked around the house nude. They kept doors open when they urinated or showered, and people kept doors open when they had sex. So I grew up with literally no sense of belonging, because the neighbors would not let their kids play with us, because my mother would have men over and she'd be in the front yard in her bikinis making out. So the neighbors knew our house was the house of sin. So kids couldn't come and play with us. And then we had no boundaries, locked out of the house, no sexual boundaries in our house. So it set us kids up for a lot of fondling and sexual abuse. So my life was totally insane, Kim. I mean, totally insane. So I brush over this with the lightness of my little exercises, but I've had 41 years of recovery of deep, deep PTSD therapy.
Oh my goodness, Jill. So for you to be here, go back, because I know you wanted to go back to the codependency after you kind of touched here on what you just shared for 41 years of recovery. So what do you
I like to end on a positive note, because you can sit here and say the abuse, but so I want to end on a positive note.
Right.
So
I definitely want you to end on a positive note. And we aren't even ending yet anyway, but I definitely
so a positive note is, as a result of all this, I ended up getting into recovery after I found Jesus in San Diego. I went to church high on cocaine. So I know I'm fast forwarding it. I became a crack cocaine addict in California. I'm just going to say real quick so everyone knows. I became a crack cocaine addict, was down to 97 pounds, even acted out my life on stages to get back at men. I was a naked dancer for 4 years, worked in the music industry, partied. My roommate was the #1 disc jockey in San Diego. So we emceed the concerts, partied backstage with every rock and roll star of the 70s. I mean, everyone you could think of, from Rolling Stones to Fleetwood Mac to The Who, everything. So I was in the fast lane. And so I went to church one day, high on coke, and the pastor was a recovered heroin addict. He did an altar call. I gave my life to the Lord and then moved back to Chicago to get clean and sober. And one night after I got clean and sober, a guy I had gone out with one time called me up and said, "Hey, Jill, I got some good coke. Can I come over?" And I said, "Well, Joey, I don't do coke anymore. I'm clean." And he goes, "Well, how did you do it?" And I told him God. So he asked if he could come over to learn about God. So he came over, and within 5 minutes, he poured out a vial of cocaine on my glass coffee table. I recognized it was Satan coming over. And so I ended up falling that night. I hadn't done drugs in 7 months, and I got high. He wanted, of course, sex. And see, in my day, Kim, I used to put out sexually just to get my drugs for free. So when he wanted sex, I said, "Well, I can't have sex because I'm not on birth control pills." And in my past, Kim, when I was using, I'd gotten pregnant twice and had decided to do an abortion, thinking that was the answer to my troubles, which it wasn't, because it led to more suicide ideation. It led to more drug addiction from the losses of my unborn children I had. And so this time I said, "I can't have sex because I'm not on birth control." He said, "Don't worry, I've had a vasectomy." So I slept with him, and 4 weeks later was pregnant. So now I was faced with this dilemma as being a Christian. And so I tried to bargain with God. And I said, "God, can you just forgive me and let me have one more abortion?" And for those listening, I don't condemn anyone who's had an abortion, because I've had one. I've had 2. So none of this is condemnation, but it's all about my story. That for me, I opened my car door at 60 miles an hour on the way to the abortion clinic, wanting to jump out and kill myself because I was so much in distress. So now this time, when I was ready to have yet my 3rd abortion, 3 days before, the Holy Spirit told me to take a hot bath with the lights off and candles. So as I laid in the bathtub, and before I share this, I want to ask everyone, write these 3 words in. Have any of you ever experienced in your life embarrassment, humiliation, or shame? Ever in your life? So as
I'm typing yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. So here I am in this dilemma, and there's only one sin in the world we cannot hide behind. Do you know what that sin is? There's only one sin we cannot hide behind.
Go ahead. Tell everybody.
And that's when we have sex outside of marriage and get pregnant. Because the whole world knows, oh, you had sex, you got pregnant. You know,
you're the visible person walking around that everybody can see.
And so
all the hidden sin is just not visible to the world. But go ahead.
So if you're a Christian and you're single, do you not feel that that's going to be a little bit embarrassing, humiliating, and shameful? So what do you think you got to do? I'm going to end the pregnancy so nobody knows my secret. And so as I laid in that bathtub crying to Jesus, this is what he said to me. I could literally see him saying, "Jill, as I walked down the path on my way to be crucified, carrying the cross, and I was being beaten, I was being mocked, I was being spat on, and I was being ridiculed." He fell to the ground, and he looked at me and he said, "Jill, I suffered more embarrassment, humiliation, and shame than anyone in the world Why do you care? I'm asking you as an audience, why do you care what anyone else thinks about you when God loves you more than anyone and he's given us the essence of humility?
Yes.
The
And that's right.
essence of
Hallelujah, Karen. That's the best way to sum it up.
And
Hallelujah.
so to give you a happiness, I canceled my abortion, and today my son is 40 years old, and I have 3 gorgeous grandbabies, and that's how I know I have 41 years of recovery, because I got pregnant and he's 40 and it's 9 months into a pregnancy. So I can remember that all the time. When he turns another age, God gives me that spiritual love and says the essence of humility saved his life.
Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful story. And I'm so glad that you decided to have your son in this particular case. And I've never had an abortion, so I can't speak from that perspective. So I always have to bring other people on that share their stories. And again, no condemnation to anybody, regardless.
Yeah.
We don't know anybody's circumstances or situations. So thank you for your transparency today. All right. Wow. Any other closing comments or thoughts that you want to share before we get ready to close out? Jill, this has been
I
amazing.
just think it's so important for you to share your story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because you never know what your story will do for others. And, I always say this to people. Sometimes people go, oh my gosh, your story's so big. It's not, I can't share mine. I didn't go through, I lived in a pretty good Christian home and I didn't go through much. I don't have anything to share. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is your story. This is your song. This is your story. And think about Jesus. What did Jesus do in the Bible, Kim? He walked in ministry and shared stories, accounts, and parables. So lives could be transformed. So in closing, I'm going to say to everyone, share your story to give hope, health, and healing to the world.
Absolutely. Share your story. Don't keep it a secret. The world needs to know it so that we can be overcome by our own testimony. And by sharing that testimony, other people will be able to overcome some of the trials and tribulations in their lives. Now, I know you had something special that you wanted to offer our studio audience today. So let's pop that up. This is a gift from Jill to you all today. So make sure you take note of it, screenshot it, tell them what it's about.
Yes, I'm a meeting and event planner. And so not only can you hire me, I actually can do any event you want to do. So if you ever want to do a conference, retreat, whatever, you can hire me to plan the whole event and do everything for you. But I also do my own. So at this time in this world, I think it's imperative to connect again. So I'm doing an Aruba connection getaway for men and women to an amazing villa in Aruba, February 5th through the 11th, for 6 nights, 7 days. And the price, so you can go to my website, braveheartworkshops.com, to register. The price includes 6 nights lodging, full concierge service. I pick you up at the airport. I take you back to the airport. I take you to beaches, shopping. We go out, and it includes breakfast, lunch, snacks, beverages. So anyone that registers when you go to the website, you'll find my phone number and my email. Reach out to me and I'll give you $150 off the registration if you give yourself the gift of love and the getaway before Christmas. So make this your Christmas and Valentine's gift to Aruba.
Okay. Make sure you all take advantage of that. Screenshot it. And she is giving you $150. I want to put that up again. $150 off of the registration for the Aruba getaway, February 5th through the 11th, 2023, by contacting Jill Reynolds at braveheartworkshops.com. And there is a page there that will direct you as to what to do. And just saying that you heard about it right here on the Kim Jacobs Show, that's the only way you're going to get that $150 off. So I don't think you're just going to
Well, and if you can't tell by now, I'm a lot of fun to be with. And I do the meanest, coolest water aerobics. So if you come and want to do water aerobics, I do kickboxing. And I mean, I have so much fun.
Yeah,
so
that's one of her other favorite things.
You definitely want to hang out with me.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to have a great time if you get to hang out with Jill. And speaking of a great time, I want to make sure that I take a moment to say happy birthday to my brother. He is celebrating his birthday today. And I have two brothers, but my younger baby brother is Javon Jackson. Jay is what we call him. And today is his birthday. I am so happy to celebrate
Come
you
on,
today,
Kim.
King.
Happy birthday to you.
If I start singing, y'all will never tune in again.
Happy birthday to you. We love you, Javon. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Jay. I'm so glad you sung because I would do the other church version. Happy birthday to start. Happy birthday, Jay. And I hope you have many more years to come and that all your dreams become a reality. All right, everybody. Listen, I see all of your comments. You have been the most supportive virtual studio audience today. I see everybody saying, hey, Braveheart, hashtag Braveheart workshops. Happy birthday, Jay. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Dr. Connie Green, check out her show, Wisdom Tips from Dr. Connie Green. She witnessed her dad kill her mother. And her tips are life-changing. Check out Dr. Connie Green, Wisdom Tips with Dr. Connie Green.
Well, you know what, Kim? I'm glad you brought that up. Connie, if you're listening, I've been blessed to learn how to do the most amazing burden release trauma therapy that releases stuff that's still in your body that you might not know. And Connie, if you're listening, reach out to me. I'd like to offer you one free burden release, and you will not believe how different you feel. I'm going to gift that.
I know I have one coming too, because I'm definitely going to take advantage of mine. And Dr. Connie Green, you've just been gifted a burden relief session with Jill Reynolds. So make sure you all connect. And I'll connect you both offline on social media, okay? All right, today's episode is also sponsored by CTRMediaNetwork.com. So make sure you check out CTRMediaNetwork.com. We have amazing podcast hosts with incredible shows over there. You don't want to miss tuning into all of them as well. Dr. Tina Ramsey was on today, and thank you for being here. All right, so that's today's episode. Jill, I can have you back 1,000 times and we could talk about 1,000 different topics. So come back anytime you choose, okay?
I love you. God bless you, Kim.
I love you and God bless you. And I love all of you, every one of you in the virtual studio audience and all of those that are watching the replay and everybody in the world, actually. I love everyone. So God bless you all. Have a great day. And I'll see you again tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on The Kim Jacobs Show. Wow. Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk